Alright guys, in today's video we have more PlayStation news to go over and talk about. We have two specific topics we're going to be focusing on in this video. The first is what a developer recently had to say about the difference between the CPU inside of the PlayStation 5 versus the CPU inside of the Xbox Series X. And I find it interesting what they have to say because it seems as though they are reiterating not only what I've been saying, but what other developers have been saying for quite some time now as well. We're also going to be talking about the upcoming PS5 exclusive Deathloop because there seems to be a little bit of confusion surrounding this game ever since it was announced yesterday that Microsoft has officially acquired Bethesda. People seem to be a little bit confused as to what's going on with this, so we're going to talk about that. If you could do me a favor before we dive into it and hit the like button to help the video out and show your support, I'd really appreciate that. And leave a comment down below letting me know how important the power factor is to you when it comes to determining your next console purchase. Let me know down below. But this was an interview that was conducted with Alex Zuka, who is the game director for Monster Energy Supercross, a game that I think is going to be coming out very shortly. And it says here, when asked about the differences between the two consoles' CPUs in a recent interview with Gaming Bolt, Zuka said that the gap is negligible at best, and that as always, what's more important is how developers will make use of the hardware on hand to deliver a properly optimized experience. And so he says the difference is so small that I honestly wouldn't even call it a difference. As usual, it's not always just about raw power to use, but about exploiting it in clever and optimized ways. Only time will allow us to understand in terms of development what advantages can be obtained from both CPUs. We are very excited to see the bright future unfolding before our eyes. So there you go. You have a developer, not an armchair developer, not somebody who claims to understand game development but has never developed a game in their life. No, a real developer working with both of these consoles. Granted, he is just focusing on the CPU, saying that there pretty much is no difference. But what I want to highlight is what he is highlighting as being the most important aspect when it comes to these consoles. Granted, he is talking about the CPU, but what he says here, I guarantee you, is applicable to pretty much all aspects of developing for a console. And he says it's not just about the raw power that's available to use, it's about exploiting it, exploiting what is there, and finding clever ways to optimize around it. Now, when we look at the difference between the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X on paper, yes, it's very clear that the more powerful console is the Xbox Series X, but yet when you look at real-world, tangible results that we've seen up until this point, March of 2021, there have been many instances where the PS5 has an edge over the Xbox Series X. And the Xbox Series X, it's not that it's doing poorly. I mean, the differences are ultimately negligible, but what we have seen is seemingly an issue when it comes to optimization or proper optimization for the Xbox Series X in some areas. Not many, just some areas. We've also seen some instances where the Xbox Series X does come out on top, but I'd argue that it hasn't really been as consistent, not nearly as consistent as Xbox's marketing would have wanted you to believe. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is just because, again, I find it interesting what developers have to say about working with these consoles. I would be very interested to hear what this individual has to say, not just about the CPU, but about the entire console, right? About the GPU, about the SSD, about the IO throughput. One thing I do also want to mention here before moving on to the next topic is that this is what we have continued to hear from multiple developers. This is pretty much what all developers will tell you. It's not about the raw power. It never has been, and it never will be. It's about how well they can optimize, how easy it is to optimize for these consoles, because that's what's going to matter most to the player at the end of the day. If it's difficult to optimize for the most powerful console in the world, then what does that matter? You know, I'm not saying that it's difficult to optimize for the Series X. I'm just saying that it's clear that this is what matters most to developers, not just raw power. It's really not just about that. So here we go. Yet another developer kind of reiterating what we have been saying for some time and what other individuals who have a very good understanding of this hardware have also been saying. But to finish off this video, I do want to talk briefly about Deathloop. It says Bethesda has reiterated that Arcane's upcoming shooter Deathloop remains a PS5 console exclusive despite Microsoft's acquisition of the company. The latest issue of Game Informer magazine, which features Deathloop as its cover story, includes the statement from a Bethesda spokesperson, which suggests that Arcane Studios is not currently working on an Xbox version of the game. This is what they had to say. The acquisition has not affected day-to-day development of Deathloop, which we're developing exclusively for PlayStation 5 on console and also PC. So there you go. Again, some people were a little bit confused. You know, now that Bethesda is officially under Microsoft, does that mean Deathloop for PS5 is canceled? Does that mean the exclusivity is void? No, it's still going to be a one-year timed exclusive. It's releasing in May for the PS5 and PC, and it will release on Xbox in May of 2022. So there you go. I'm excited for Deathloop. It's not the game I'm most excited about, but it's a game I'm definitely interested in. Will give a try and give it a shot. So that's going to do it for the video, guys. Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about what this developer had to say, and let me know whether or not you are excited for Deathloop. Leave the video a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.